I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago.
Well, good morning and welcome to the Homeschool Counseling Network vlog. Today, I am so excited because we have in studio our guest, Josh Spurlock of My Counselor Online. I'm going to list for you just a few of Josh's accolades. He is a BA in Biblical Languages, Master's in Counseling. He's an LPC, Licensed Professional Counselor in several states, including Missouri, Colorado, and Florida. He's a certified sex therapist, a level 2 AEDP therapist. I'll be honest, I don't know what that one is. You might have to tell me what that one is. There's all this alphabet soup that even I don't know. He's an ordained minister. He's an advanced practice clinician. I think are you also an LMFT? I forgot.
LMHC and LCPC in Montana.
Right.
All sorts.
Alphabet soup is not the same depending on what state you're in.
Right. Yep.
Right.
Hey, well,
but
it's
you
so
have
good
so
to be
many
here.
No, please go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, it's so good to hang out with you.
Well, we are so excited to have you here. I actually came across you when I was looking for adding more professionals to our directory, but I came across your My Counselor Online that's been around for quite a while. You started that with your wife, Cassie, when in 2009, I believe it was.
Yeah, we're coming up on, really 2007 was the beginnings of it. We had our first big launch in 2009, so somewhere around 17 years that we've been at it.
I mean, when really telehealth and telemental health was really not a thing. So you were very much pioneers in this.
It was not cool back in those days, for sure. But it's what the Lord called us to do, and we leaned in hard and really had a heart for increasing access to care for folks in areas that did not have a whole lot of resources, especially for missionaries kind of out on the field in different corners of the world, caring for their families when they didn't have a lot of options, and folks in rural communities that didn't have a whole lot of resources nearby, that being able to connect with them online really increase the access and availability of care for them.
Yes, and that is so important. We definitely have, and I'll be the first to just step out and say that we have a mental health crisis, and just not only in our country, but in our world as well.
Yeah.
So having that, when you speak to homeschoolers, they face the same challenges and a few unique challenges as others when it comes to mental health crisis. But the main concern is accessibility to care. So having that accessibility to care online, and the one thing that is, it just expands the availability for them to get, to be able to see a counselor, to be able to see someone who is a trained professional. But My Counselor Online is unique in compared to other practices. Can you share a little bit about what makes your practice so unique?
Yeah, well, we're weird, that's for sure. And I'd like to think we're weird in the best ways. And so we provide professional counseling, faith-based mental health online, which in and of itself isn't super weird. There's some other folks that try to do that. But really the way that we go about it is unique. We set out to kind of reverse engineer a solution for the body of Christ that could hold a very high level of quality of care at a very large scale to help support organizations and folks that had folks scattered all over the country and all over the planet, and to be able to make sure that they could reliably and consistently refer folks to get the care they need, and not have to be concerned that some folks would get good care and some folks wouldn't, like you find in some of the networks where everybody's an independent practitioner. There's no real accountability theologically or clinically. And so, we built a team where everybody is the employees of our ministry, and built a 2-year postgraduate residency and developed a model of therapy to train them in. And so all of the counselors on our team are employees of My Counselor Online and have been trained through our 2-year postgraduate residency, and are supervised by our supervisors who look at their tape and provide ongoing coaching and development for them. And that's what really enables us to have a 90% success rate with the folks that come get help for us, which we're super proud of. Like industry average is like 70%, really good is 80%, 90% is pretty unheard of. So yeah, we're weird. It's true.
You're weird in a good way, and you should definitely own it. Whether, for those of you who may or may not realize it, in all honesty, it doesn't matter what training background you come from. Your greatest predictor of success in terms of therapy is how well you relate to your therapist. And that is the key component that I see with my counselor online is your counselor and client matching program,
Yes.
feature. I don't know how you would discuss that, but can you share a little bit more about that? That's what makes you weird, but also wonderful. Talk about the matching of the clinician or the therapist to the client.
Yeah, I think there's two pieces involved with that. One is just recognizing Jesus's design of our nervous system to be relational creatures, and that being kind of central to our model and our focus of care. Not every approach to care really emphasizes the relationship, like you're saying, and understanding the role that it plays in bringing about transformation. But we believe discipleship and healing and the bearing of one another's burdens happens in the context of relationship. And so we're highly focused on that, which is also why in our onboarding process, we have a very high touch matching process whereby, folks meet with a real person and are able to kind of hear their story and understand what their needs are and align that with a person on our team that is a good fit for them and their needs. And we have this kind of risk-free guarantee in place because, no matter how good a system you have, you can still have mismatches. And so folks can change counselors at any time. And if for some reason it doesn't feel right, doesn't feel like the best fit, then they just reach back out to their matching person who helps them kind of sort through and connect with a different counselor.
That's definitely meet the client where they are.
Yeah.
Definitely meet the client where they are. And that shows how much you are invested in your client's success and
Yeah.
and in my counselor online success.
It's our calling, that's just, we really feel like this is what King Jesus has asked us to do and what we want to give ourselves to doing with a high level of excellence and to really think about all the different details of what makes an experience with counseling excellent.
I agree. I agree. What would you say, or for those who are looking for counseling services, what types of services do you offer or can clients find at My Counselor Online?
Yeah, our counselors and our clinical team is really equipped to provide care for anything that you would normally treat in an outpatient setting. That is, for there's a little lingo and jargon in there, right? Inpatient,
Right.
outpatient. Which outpatient is simply means that you're not like spending the night there at the clinic versus an inpatient setting where, like in a hospitalization, somebody's
Right.
out of touch with reality, they're having psychosis, and they're not able to engage in a dialogue with another person in a way that can actually connect and help them work through things. In that case, folks need a stabilization process. But if you can work in an outpatient setting and have conversation and dialogue, then our counselors can help you with what it is that you're navigating. That we've got a really robust program for training in different presenting issue categories and making sure that folks have training, experience, and supervision working with individual issues, working with trauma, working with marital concerns, sex therapy, kind of infidelity difficulties, and family counseling, working with teenagers, helping parents that are navigating challenges with younger kids in a family therapy context. So it's a broad spectrum that we're able to provide care for, which is helpful, having a resource to turn to. And there's a lot of different kind of issues that you can bump into where a counselor has a specialization in one area, but not necessarily the area that you need help with. And so they're either working outside of their scope of competency, or they're needing to refer on to someone else. So being able to have that broad spectrum is very helpful, very beneficial.
Essentially, it sounds like for whatever your counseling needs are, you can get those needs met at My Counselor Online. If it's individual counseling services, if you're dealing with an issue anywhere from anxiety or depression, it sounds like your staff is trained in, I hate to say, the gamut of all of the common presenting problems that will bring you to an outpatient counseling concern. An outpatient, we talked about earlier, means something where you're not needing to be hospitalized or stabilized because you're experiencing what you kind of described earlier, which is being out of touch of reality or having some psychosis, which means you're probably going to need to be in an inpatient setting and have some medication until you can work through those issues with a therapist. But also you have not necessarily. Do you have group counseling services? That would be a good question.
We do some group work, and so they're not ongoing groups, and so they form at different times. And so I'm not sure if we have any presently running, but from time to time we are running different groups.
Okay. But you also have family counseling services, marital counseling services, sex therapy services, all different types of, it almost sounds like if you can think of the presenting problem, you are going to have a clinician trained there for it. And one of the additional benefits of being a ministry is that you are protected by the First Amendment. Traditional counseling, we are, as you are licensed, we mentioned earlier, in several states. And right now, counseling, I hate to pick on counseling, but they've not done as well of a job as, say, social work and some of the other master's level professions of doing that interstate compact. It's going, but it is slow going. So slow going. And so, like, for example, I do not have a background in ministry. If I were to go back and see clients professionally, I am licensed currently in Texas and in Georgia. That means I would only be able to see clients who are residing in Texas or in Georgia. But when you work underneath a ministry, which you are also trained, you are not limited by those same licensure laws. You are protected under the First Amendment, which makes it an additional protection and an additional benefit for families who are seeking faith-based services, especially when it comes in terms of homeschooling families, because so many of our homeschooling families are world schoolers. They are missionaries, and they are all over the world, or they're road schoolers, as we call it. They are going to travel, hop in that RV, and there they go. So this is an additional benefit of seeking out services from My Counselor Online. Your counselor, you can see them wherever you are.
Yeah, can travel with you all over. We're very familiar with that as a family. We have homeschooled for a number of years. We've got teenagers now, and so it's been quite a number of years we've been homeschooling. And then we traveled full time for 4 years with our kiddos as well. And so know some of the challenges of navigating, service providers when you are, a month here, 2 months there, kind of in different areas. So being able to have that continuity of care where you can connect with someone and wherever you find yourself in the world, keep that relationship. That's very helpful.
It is very helpful, and not just for homeschoolers, but also for a friend of mine, Natalie Mack of the Homeschool Legal Defense Association and the Military Homeschoolers Association. There are military schoolers who also happen to be homeschoolers, and they are all over the world as well. So you can also, in addition, provide those services to those who give the greatest sacrifice, which is to serve our nation. So I see so many mutual benefits here that are offered through My Counselor Online. So where can homeschooling families find you?
Well, as you might guess in the name, it's the URL. You can go out to mycounselor.online and learn about the care that we provide. And there's a little orange button that says Get Matched. that will take you to a form to schedule a time to meet with one of our matching specialists. No obligation in that, just informational. Can answer your questions, help you understand what the options are, and if it feels right, to help you schedule and connect with a counselor. It's as easy as that.
That is wonderful. I would like to ask one more question that unfortunately is important
Fire
to
away.
families. Fire away. Okay. Now, also, in terms of using healthcare benefits, do you accept what are forms of payment? And I hate to just ask the question, but families are going to ask me this question. What are
Yeah.
some options for payment for families?
Oh, yeah, for sure. That matters, right? So we're out of network for
Okay.
insurance, which means, sometimes folks are able to get their insurance to reimburse for our services, but we're not in a contractual relationship with any insurance providers. Because when you
Okay.
enter into a insurance contract, you are agreeing to practice in the manner that they want to see you
Yes.
practice. Otherwise, you open yourself up to significant liability. And we just feel like we've got to practice in the way that we believe is best for caring for our clients, and from this faith-based approach. And so we're not in network with insurance. So folks are private pay, and our pricing structure is that of a membership model. And so you're paying monthly to connect with counselor, and it's $258 a month is where we begin to kind of meet with a counselor every other week and work on the things that you want to make some progress in, or whatever your goals are.
To me, that is impressive. I haven't been in private practice since, when was my son born? I closed my private practice in 2013. And for that, at the time, my fair market rate, this was just outside of Atlanta, Georgia, at the time was $150 an hour. And this was 11 years ago. So the fact that you're offering a very affordable rate, that you are going to have that counselor, that access to wherever you travel. And I didn't have these same kind of business hours. I just didn't because I had overhead to pay. This was before
Right.
telehealth was a thing. So yes, you do have so much more freedom. And even as I was moving away, I contracted with many insurance providers at the time, but I was moving away from it simply because the restrictions they put on you for how you practice, and homeschoolers understand that better than anyone else when it comes to terms from also, it's kind of akin to accepting government money to fund your homeschool. Then you also
Comes
have
with
to play
rules,
by their
right?
rules. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to play by their rules when you accept that money. But also, say, not to go off, it's kind of a similar way of
For sure.
thinking if you think about it that way. But what clients can do is do you offer a super bill if they want to
Yep.
submit that to their insurance company and explain
We
a
have
little bit of what a
folks
super bill is?
depending on their
Mhm.
insurance and the way that it's
Mhm.
structured, that they're able to submit that receipt, that super bill for
Mhm.
reimbursement, and to be able to get reimbursement on the services.
And also, I think another option might also be that they can use maybe their flex care healthcare
And
spending dollars.
HSN reflects.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it. I knew you would know the
Sure
terms like
can.
in the back of your hand. I need more coffee today to get all those terms straight. But yeah, so in other words, there's lots of opportunities, and as much as we would love for, in all honesty, sounds incredibly affordable, just based on how much the cost of living has changed and how much inflation has changed and how much, in all honesty, the price of therapy has changed since I was
Yeah.
practicing
That's super
11 years
important.
ago.
Part of that access to care, right? We want to
Yes.
try to, there's a lot to balance and to manage when it comes to pricing care. When you're
Mhm.
receiving maybe services through a community mental health center or through a local
Mhm.
church or something of that sort, there's either federal dollars or general benevolence and giving and tithes and offering that are kind of supporting and offsetting the costs of counseling. When you're in a private setting like this, private
Mhm.
practice or ministry, all of the costs of the overhead of the ministry and caring for the
Mhm.
professionals involved and all of their continuing education and so on all has to be recouped within the fees. And so there's this
Mhm.
tension of taking well care of the counselors and their families' needs and trying to keep things as affordable as possible for the families that are needing care. and we're always trusting the Lord to lead us through how
Yes.
to navigate that well.
Well, it looks so far, just from what I've seen and what else is out there, that you're doing an excellent job of doing that. Well, Josh, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I'm going to put all of the information for how you can find counselors at My Counselor Online. And there's also, I'll put a link to his YouTube channel. There's a lot of very useful videos out there and other interviews so that people can find you. So thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your experience and expertise.
You're welcome, Kimberly. Thanks for having me. It's been fun hanging out with you.
Take care.